Let's play this clip. We have a couple of clips from Pelosi. Pelosi went on with Wolf Blitzer. I don't think I've seen Wolf Blitzer ever deal with the political leadership of the Republican Party this way. I don't know if I've seen him do it with the Democratic Party, but there is no doubt. Look, here's the fact. And this is, I'm going to state these facts without application of any analysis. The Democrats have passed 2 coronavirus relief bills in the past, 4 months. And the Senate has passed 0. And that is simply a fact. The Senate is controlled by Republicans. The House is controlled by Democrats. That's a fact. So Donald Trump a week ago said, we're calling it off. No more relief. We know that Mitch McConnell does not want to pass any relief. He's said it multiple times. Those are all facts. Now, the analysis is far more nuanced. But if you're just going to be Wolf Blitzer, who's supposedly like, I'm just the ref here. The idea that you can sit there and try and shame Pelosi versus McConnell seems to me to be a little bit off base. Now, I have my own analysis, and it's not because I don't pretend that I'm Wolf Blitzer, but here is the way that conversation ended. And people should go back and watch the whole segment because it's, I don't know. I mean, I in some respects, I tend to agree with Wolf Blitzer. It's just like, hey, dude, are you going to be this way with all of our politicians and maybe even the people from AIPAC? But let's put that aside. Okay.
With no knowledge of the difference between our 2 bills, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to say that to you in person.
All right, Madam Speaker, these are incredibly difficult times right now, and we'll leave it on that note. Thank you so much for joining us.
We'll leave it on the note that you are not right on this, Wolf, and I hate to say that to you, but I feel confident about it, and I feel confident about my colleagues, and I feel confidence in my chairs.
It's not about me. It's about millions of Americans who can't put food on the table, who can't pay the rent.
And we represent them. And we represent them.
Getting
and
by
we represent
these
them.
long food lines that we're seeing.
Them.
I know
we
you
know
are.
Them.
I'm just saying.
We represent them and we know them.
As we say.
We know them. We represent them.
Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, as they say.
It is nowhere near perfect.
Madam Speaker.
Always the case, but we're not even close to the good.
All right, let's see what happens, because every day is critically important. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for your sensitivity to our constituents' needs.
I am sensitive to them because I see them on the street begging for food, begging for money. Madam Speaker, thank you so much.
Have you fed them? We feed them. We feed them.
We'll continue this conversation down the road for sure. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
I'm not sure what she means by we feed them, but
yeah, no, they don't.
I mean, the whole exchange was sort of like, both you guys, are you kidding me? But be that as it may, the question is, and here it is. I mean, this is a mystery, and people have different theories. And I think maybe to some extent, David Dayen has one that I think is pretty good. So Nancy Pelosi now, they've passed a $2.2 trillion bill. You would imagine that Donald Trump wants to be a socialist for the next 3 or 4 weeks, right? I mean, he wants to pump so much money out to people. He wants UBI. He wants stimulus payments. He wants to expand unemployment benefits. I mean, if Donald Trump could right now put in everybody's going to get free everything for the next 3 or 4 weeks, he would do it. They have instead come up with a $1.8 trillion bill because the White House believes that's as much as they could get out of the Senate. Now, Mitch McConnell claims they can't get anything out of the Senate. He wants to bring up, and he's going to on Monday, he's going to bring up a bill that is basically going to be a retread of the last bill that the Democrats were able to filibuster and stop in the Senate because there is not enough support in the Senate for this bill, in other words. And that bill is just to move money from the PPP that was still available there and basically reauthorize the money. So they're basically reauthorizing a program that people didn't need to use anymore or want to use. At this point, your business has either gone out of business or you're able to stay afloat. getting a bridge loan doesn't do anything for you. It's just wasted money at that point. But McConnell does not want this money to go to states. He does not want it to go to cities. He does not want it to go to people. So knowing this about McConnell, you would imagine that Pelosi would say to the White House, okay, let's do the 1.8 trillion. Because if Joe Biden wins, they're going to get another bite at the apple and they're going to be able to do more. And if Joe Biden loses, it doesn't matter anyways, right? Because then the Republicans are going to be in control and they will or will not do whatever they're going to do. In my mind, it seems like maybe she's afraid that McConnell will pass the bill, the 1.8 trillion, and that Trump will get the credit for it. I mean, I think that would be a horribly immoral position to take. But maybe that's it. Because why not just say, yes, I'll do it, and then have McConnell be blamed, which is the most likely scenario, it seems to me, right? McConnell will be the one who'll kill it. And I'm like, why would she not do that? Well, David Dayen has a very good explanation. And that is essentially when you go down to, when you accept the president's bill, the 1.8 trillion, it's not just a question of how much it is, but it's how it's spent, right? And so they have the $2.2 trillion bill, which came down from the $3.4 trillion bill. And the way they shrunk that money was not by taking it out of any particular area. It shortened the timeline of it being spent. So over time, there would be less money spent, but each sort of like silo would get their funding. And each of those silos is represented by, what was the last thing she said there? I have faith in my colleagues and faith in my chairs. Nancy Pelosi is running for her second term as leader of the Democrats. She needs 2/3 vote from the caucus because of the deal when she won in 2018, right? She basically said, I'm only going to do this. I'll only run for 2 more times and I won't, it'll be 2/3 the next time. The chairs chair the committees and give out the goodies to people on the committees. So this is basically, and we've talked about this in the past, it is the iron law of institutions, which says the people who control institutions care first and foremost about their power within the institution rather than the power of the institution itself. In other words, people are like, the Democrats are, this is what's so messed up about the idea of like, if we will hold our vote, we'll teach the Democrats a lesson. No, you won't. Because they're okay losing as long as they maintain their power within the institution.
Yeah, they don't care.
Well, nobody does. Incidentally, this is not just for Democrats and Republicans. It is for your local, Little League organization. It is for the Parent Teachers Association. This applies to human endeavors in many respects. And I'm not involved in DSA politics, but it's not impossible to imagine that even in DSA, there are people like, I want to maintain my position on this committee, or I want this committee within this organization to be, I don't know, but I'm going to assume not. I'm going to assume that there is no power struggles there at all.
DSA is not without its issues.
Right. Every human endeavor is. And so McConnell wants to retain his power personally and is thinking past the upcoming loss of power for the party. But so isn't Nancy Pelosi. And so from Nancy Pelosi's perspective, if she says okay to $1.8 trillion, even if McConnell crashes it, who is she selling out if she says okay to the Trump plan? She's selling out her committee chairs and some of her colleagues who can then not go back to their constituents. All these people are up for re-election and say, look, this is what I passed. She's selling out those people. And when she sells out those people, she's selling out herself. And she wants to win re-election. So she's balancing these two things. her own fate and what happens actually with the bill. What is occupying a very narrow slice of this calculation, in my mind, is the American public, who could use that $1,200, even if it's signed by Donald Trump. And personally, I don't think that it's going to make a difference in terms of the election at this point. Now, to be fair, there are some people who theorize that she's waiting and she's going to accept this deal at the end of the week so that by the time it gets to the Senate, it will screw up the Amy Coney Barrett process. And if that's the case, then kudos to her. It's also conceivable that there'll be enough pressure between now and then that that's what she'll do. I don't know. But I'm just here to try and explain to you this sort of very fascinating dynamic that I think has a lot of lessons for us.
I mean, this is the moment she told Jake Tapper to calm down for, because she's going to get state and local funding.
In April. She said in April, we will get the city. We will get the state funding.